Happy Monday, everybody. Well, I'm coming on to give you my market results for the little market I did on Saturday. So, it's a nice day. It was a nice day. Excuse me, I have all my info on my paper, so I will be looking down a lot. So, I apologize in advance for that, because I'm not going to remember everything off the top of my head. But I think I've told you before that this market is literally under 5 minutes from where I live. So we didn't have to get up super early. Setups started at 8 o'clock, but the market didn't start till 10. And I did a mock setup in my house the day before to see how I wanted to set up, because we could only bring one table and I got a lot of stuff. So to decide what I wanted to bring to fill that table, I had to do a mock setup. So I did that. I swear, that got me more tired than doing the market. I was exhausted Friday. So I got that done. I took a photograph of it. So when I got to the market, I just brought up the picture on my phone and I knew exactly where I wanted to place things. So that's what we did when we got there. We were able to park right in front of the door. It was indoors. We got there, I don't know, close to 8:30 in the morning, I guess. And there weren't that many vendors there yet. There were a couple of food vendors, pastries and breads and that kind of stuff. But really not very, oops, I'm sorry, I just kicked the stand here. But there weren't that many. So she had sent out an email on Friday and told us what number our space would be, but when we got there Saturday, she had changed our space. She set it up really kind of weird. I didn't like the way she set up the room. I don't think she had a lot of experience with that. I think most of the markets that she did at this location, she did outdoors. So she's got to work on that a little bit. But in the end, it didn't hurt me any. It just was cumbersome. And I had very little space to be able to get around my table to talk with customers and stuff like that. Anyhow, I have a little video of my setup. It's going to go pretty quick because I only had one table. So why don't we look at that little video now and you get an idea of my setup, and I'll be right back. Told you it wasn't a whole bunch because there wasn't much room to do anything, but it was fine. It was fine. I had more than enough stuff for that little market, so not an issue at all. So I'm trying to think. 10 o'clock came around. There were no people on the side of us at first. I was facing the doors to go out the back of this clubhouse. They have a beautiful, huge lake back there. So it was really, really pretty. And it was a beautiful room too. It was just a beautiful place. I've driven through this community so many times to get to my nephew's house because he lives in a community after that one. And I've never gone into their clubhouse or anything. I've never really seen it. It's a newer community than mine. It was built, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago. So it's fairly new. My community is 20 years old. So anyhow, we got everything in there, got the table set up, got my phone out, looked at my picture, put up all my plushies. So it went really easy. The setup went really easy. That was good. That was good. I'm glad I did what I did on Friday because I didn't have to think about anything Saturday. So we were set up very, very quickly. So Grumpy went out and went to Dunkin' Donuts, got me a nice coffee and a pumpkin donut. It's that time of year and I love those pumpkin donuts. So I had that for breakfast and people started coming on in right around 10 o'clock. I don't have the times of my sales because very few of my sales were paid with a credit card. And if you do it on Square, it's nice because it tells you what time your sales happened. Well, I don't know. And Grumpy is not a neat bookkeeper. He kept everything, he did everything fine, but he's messy. And he would put a little dollar sign if it was cash, and he would just make like a square if it was paid by Square. So we knew what everything was, and everything added up once we got home, so that was good. So people were walking around and looking, and I don't know, just kind of sat around waiting, waiting for something to happen. There was a girl who was across from me in my original spot, but she needed electricity for what she was doing, and where I was kind of in the middle of the room, so I didn't have electricity there, and I didn't need it. So she came over, and she was looking at the plushies, and she goes, oh, I have 2 little boys, and they would love this, and one of them, do you have a penguin? Of course I did not have a penguin with me. I only have one, and it's really a breast cancer penguin that I make, and that I'll save for my October markets. So she said she would contact me and order a penguin for her son, something for her other one. And then she talked about her son's birthday party, and maybe she would buy some little things as little gifts for the kids at the party. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if she contacts me or not. And the women on the side of me were super nice. Super nice. We talked like we were best friends forever. It was so nice and easy. Everybody was very, very nice. The one thing I didn't like is that it wasn't just crafters. You know, there were people that were selling bread. There were people that were selling pastries. There was a lawn person there about his business. There was a realtor there at one of the tables. I'm not crazy about that when I go to markets. You know, if you're going to do handmade items and call it a craft fair or whatever, have craft people there. I guess you could say cooking is a craft, but I don't know. It was a small room. We could have had more crafters. So there was a young man, a teenager, a young teenager, maybe 16-ish, 15, 16. I could be totally wrong because I'm not good at guessing kids' ages, but he had come by and he looked and didn't say anything. He was very quiet and left. I think he said something like, oh, these are really nice or something like that. And he left. And he came back maybe 20 minutes, half an hour later, he came back and he just went to my booth, knew exactly what he wanted. And he picked up a jumping spider, one of my s'mores, and a small snake. So that was my first sale of the day, and it was $32. It was like, wow, this is pretty good. I really wasn't expecting much of anything at all for this market. So $32, I was happy. I was happy. And then a little while later, a couple came, no children. She bought my mint chip turtle by All From Jade. And she also bought a chicken egg. And that was $25 for those. The turtle was $15 and the chicken egg was $10. So that was a $25 order. And back on the jumping spider was $10, the s'mores $12, and the small snake was $10 for the $32 that the young man spent. I was quite impressed with him. I really was. I don't remember who this sale was, but someone came and bought one of my bees, little bullet bees. Those darn things. I always say I'm not making these anymore, but I make them and they sell. So I guess I'm going to keep making them. So one bee was $12, and she bought one of the baby eagle keychains I had made, and that was $5 for a total of $17. And my next sale was a jumping spider again for $10. And I'm trying to think of stories I can tell, but I can't remember everything. I can't remember who everybody was who bought these things. I do remember the next one. A couple came, no children with them, and she bought a Myrtle the turtle, and she bought one of my scrubby sets. And I'll show those to you on Wednesday, how I put those together. But Myrtle the turtle I sold for $12, and the scrubby set I sold for $7, for a total of $19. But he handed me a $20 bill and said, keep it. So I got a $1 tip on that one, which really helps later on in this. So I thought that was really nice. I really wanted to give him his $1 back, but no, he said, keep the $1, keep the $1. So they're very sweet people. And then someone, oh, I remember this one. Axolotl keychain was next. And there was this little boy. His mom had a booth there. And he kept coming over. And he was looking at everything. And he loved it. And I had 2 axolotls that were Robin's pattern left. And he really liked those. And then he kept picking up the axolotl keychain and looking at that. And then I would see he would walk back to his mom. And I don't know if he asked her for money or something, but nothing happened. And he looked kind of down and out. I would say he was maybe 7, 8 years old. And he would come back and he would look and, oh, broke my heart. Broke my heart. But later in the day, she came over with him and bought the axolotl keychain for him, and he was so happy. He was so happy. So you want me to put that in a bag for you? No. I want to carry him. I said, okay. So that was cute. That was really, really cute. And then I sold another bald eagle keychain after that. And then I sold another Myrtle the turtle after that for $12. The baby eagle keychain was $7. And then it got a little busy and a little crowded because we were kind of in this little corner and people had to walk to that area. And then to get out, they had to turn around and walk back. So they'd have to walk by my table twice, which is kind of good, I guess. But there was this couple and it was a little boy and it was kind of busy and I really didn't notice what was going on because the lady across from me was selling wreaths, beautiful wreaths. And she got me because I had to buy one. I needed a new one for my front door anyway for the fall because mine are really old and started falling apart and everything. So I said to Grumpy, I'm going to buy one of those wreaths. I've always liked them, and they're the kind made with that mesh ribbon stuff, and oh, it's just so colorful and pretty. If I can, I'll take a picture of it and show it to you here. And I'll do the same with the items I sold. If I find pictures, I'll put them here. If you don't see pictures, it's because I'm using iMovie to put this video up, because I've been having a lot of trouble with my editing program thing I'm using. I don't know what. Last Wednesday was just a horror show with it. And I ended up using iMovie and did it in like minutes. It was so quick and easy. So I don't know if I can add pictures on top of what I'm saying here like I can on the other program. So I'll have to play around with that a little bit. And I have to do it on my iPad because I don't have an Apple computer. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. So where were we? Oh yes, this little boy. Cute as a button. Maybe 3 or 4 years old. Blonde, cute little kid. And he grabbed onto a parakeet and he wasn't going to let go of that thing. He loved that bird. He loved that bird. So his mom bought it for him. And it was $12. Cute little kid. I love seeing the kids. They just crack me up. Oh, I'm trying to think now. Around this same time that the mom bought this for the little boy, there were 4 girls, little girls, 9, 10 years old, I'm guessing, in that age group, and they were constantly at my table. And of course they have to touch everything. And look at this, look at this, look at this. And everything would be a mess. So they would go away. I would go back out in front and fix up my table, come back and sit down, and sure enough, they'd come back and they're playing with the stuff, and it was driving me cuckoo. I guess a grandparent or parent had a booth there too, and so they were there for the day, and they were getting bored. There really wasn't anything for kids to do in there. And I was the only one selling anything like toys. So they were constantly at my booth. They were cute. They were very nice, you know, but they were kids. So they were just touching everything. But eventually, they all bought something. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing. And it was funny because when the last one bought something, I'm trying to remember, I remember what she got. The mom looked at me and she says, my wallet's empty now. I have no more money left. It was so funny. She was so nice. Very, very nice lady. But my next sale after the parakeet was a chicken egg, and I think it was one of those little girls, and she had come up to me and she kind of whispered at me and she said, I really want to buy one of these, but I only have $9. Can I still get one? Well, all of her friends had already bought something. And I didn't want her to be the only one who didn't have something. So I said, yes, you pick out the one you want, and $9 is fine. Oh, she was so happy. She was so happy. So I'm guessing all her other friends were saying, oh, look, I got this. And she was standing there, and, you know, I had showed her some little mini turtles that I had, and no, she wanted that chickeny egg. So no hair off my chest, because remember that gentleman who had given me the $1 tip, well, there's the $1. That's the $1 for the chickeny egg that this little girl bought. She was as happy as could be. She really was. And that makes me happy. I really enjoy the kids there and seeing how excited they get at these little things that they buy. So after that, I sold a chicken keychain. Same chickens that I put in the egg, but I put them on a keychain instead. Because not everybody wants it in an egg. So I did that. I sold that. Oh, I just can't remember to who I sold it to. And then, I might have this out of order a little bit, but, and then I sold one of the little mini turtles. And they're only $7. And another one of those little girls came over and she didn't have much money. I forget how much she had with her. She really wanted to get one of the Myrtle the turtles, but she didn't have enough money for it. So I kind of pulled her aside and I said, if you really want a turtle, look in the back right here. I says, I have some real little ones. If you want one of those are only $7 and you have enough money to buy one of those. So she looked at them and picked one and she goes, yes, can I have this one? I says, yes. And she gave me the money that she had, and she had exactly $7, which was the price of that little turtle. So she was happy. She was running around with a little turtle in her hand. So all 4 girls ended up buying something. And I don't know, I was happy that they all were able to get something, because you know how little kids can be. They can be pretty cruel and say, oh, look, I got something and you got nothing. And I didn't want that to happen to any of those little girls. So when she got that little mini turtle, that was the last one to buy something. So all 4 of them now had something that they could go and play with or whatever. So that eased my mind a little. Oh gosh. And then now we're getting close to the end of the day. It ran from 10 to 2. It's around 1:30, 1:40, somewhere in that area. And this man comes over with a little boy. And immediately the little boy picks up one of the bees. Can I have this bee? Can I have this bee? And the gentleman says, yeah, sure. If that's what you want, take it. So kid's holding on to his bee. And he's looking and he goes, the father or uncle or whatever this man was, he says, I love these things. I have them all over my house. He buys them on Amazon, he said. So they're not handmade things. And he was showing me pictures of some of the things he bought, which some of them were very, very cute. They were like emotional support this or that, and they had the little signs, and they were really cute. And he was looking and looking, and the little boy already had the bee, and he spotted my s'mores. And he goes, oh my gosh, is that a s'more? And I said, yeah. And he wasn't picking up anything. I said, you can pick it up. So he did, and I said, well, squish it, because they really squish like a real s'more. You know, you get your s'more and you put that marshmallow on there, and next thing you know, you just smush it all together so you can eat it. Well, he got the biggest kick out of that. He goes, well, I'll take that other one you have too. So I ran out of s'mores. I brought 3 with me. I sold all 3. He bought 2 of them. So the bee was $12 and the s'mores were each $12. So that was $36. So that was pretty good. That was pretty good. And then the people on the side of us, they didn't speak English very well. The father spoke pretty good English, but they had a little girl, maybe about 5. And it was very close to closing time now, very, very close to closing time. And she came over, and I had a couple of my splooting animals on the table, my fox and the frog I brought with me. And because I can't get rid of my Melvin the moose yet, I just can't do it. So she's looking at things, and the father's kind of gearing her towards something really inexpensive. Well, do you want something? She says, yes. And she kept running over to the wolf and running over to the wolf. And she called it a cat. I want the cat. I want the cat. And I could tell he just didn't want to spend that much money. I think I had it priced at $27. And he would pick up a keychain or something and show it to her. He goes, oh, well, you want this instead? No, I want the cat. And she'd go, and she picked it up and she was hugging it. And I said, oh my God, how can he say no to that? You know, she was just so cute, cutest thing. And no, he took it and he put it back on the table, and they eventually settled for a rainbow keychain. A lot different from that wolf, that's for sure. But she got her rainbow keychain and she seemed happy, and that was $6. And the last sale, I was just about starting to take things down, or maybe I had even started taking things down. And this older lady came over and she said, oh my God, I have to have this. And I don't know if you noticed in the video, but I had these possums that can hang, their tail, you know, bends over. So I had them hanging, and they look so cute hanging there. And she says, can I have this possum? And I said, sure. So I took it down for her and she gave me the $12 for it. And that was the end of my sales. That was the end of my sales. So I'll tell you, I did quite well. For me, I was very happy. I was really happy and surprised that I did as well as I did. I ended up selling 22 items. And my best sellers were my keychains. I sold 5 of them. The next were my s'mores. I sold all 3 of them. Sold out of s'mores. Now I have to make more. And I wasn't even going to make them. They were a last minute make. Last minute. And they all sold. So it's worth revisiting your old patterns, because you just never know. You just never know. Those darn bees I've been making, it's my 3rd year now making those bees, and they still sell. And the s'mores, the same thing. My 3rd year, and they still sell. So I guess I'm stuck making bees and s'mores forever, because they all sell. So that was good. The s'mores sold out. I definitely have to make more of those. I still have a lot of keychains, but I have some big markets coming up. I have a big one in a few weeks, and then November is going to be really busy for me. I have 2 markets in November, a huge one towards the end of the month. So I got to get my little button gear and get stuff made. So then there were 3 items that I sold 2 of, and they were the jumping spiders, the myrtle the turtles, and the chicks and egg. So I'll have to make more of all of this to make up for the ones I've sold. Everything else was just a one-off, and I'll keep my list and decide whether or not I want to make those again. So I ended up selling $217 worth of plushies. I was shocked. I was shocked. Did not expect that at all. I never ever go into a market expecting to make so much money. Oh, I'm going here and I want to make $100 an hour, or $50 an hour, or $500, or 10 times my table fee. I never, ever, ever do that. Never. And then when something like this happens, when I'm not expecting a lot and I do well, which I think for this market was very well, it's a nice surprise. You know, Grumpy and I kept saying, wow, we had a good day. We had a great day. And it was nice. It was just a nice day. So yeah, it was great. So $217. My square fee was $186. I only had 2 people use Square. Only 2. And the booth fee was 0. So the minute I had that first order from that young man, that $32 order, I was already in black because I had no charge to be there. It was free, which was wonderful. And I hope they keep it that way because I will definitely go back. What else am I doing? I would have been sitting around at home. I have to take a sip of water. Excuse me. My throat's getting dry. So I am very happy with the results. My square fee for that, did I just say that? I probably did, but I'll say it again. My square fee was $1.86. I think I sold a total of $60 on Square. Two orders that added up to $60. And my booth fee was nothing. So my profit, not counting yarn and eyes and that kind of stuff, but my profit was $215.14. I'm still surprised. I'm still surprised. I did not expect that at all. Oh, I have it here. Square was $60, Zelle was $6, and cash was $150. So I'm calling that a very successful market. I was very happy with it. Very happy with it. Breakdown was easy. We drove the car right up to the door, just threw everything in the car. It was just a couple of minutes home. We unpacked everything right away. Sat down, rested for a few minutes, and decided to go out for an early dinner. So that's what we did. And we went to Texas Roadhouse, which is just down the road. Not very far, maybe a mile down the road. And we had an early dinner around 4:30. So, great day. I am very, very happy with that. I did not expect it. Did not expect that. So, that's it. That's my market recap. I had a great day. I met some wonderful people. I'm very happy with the sales I had. They were all small. Nobody bought anything large. They were all little items. I didn't bring a lot of big things with me. I did bring my big Pyrie the Dragon that I have here and my Kumara, the nine-tailed fox. I like to put those out because it really draws people's attention. And I did get a lot of comments and everything on the big things. And then I would just kind of chuckle and say, well, that dragon's $100 and that fox is $75. They were like, wow. But yes, small items were the thing at this show. And look, adds up, $217. So I'm very happy. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad I can bring some happy news because I'm very happy about it. I really am. My next market in a month, 4 weeks, I think. Yeah, 4 weeks, I think, is a big one. And it's outdoors, which I'm dreading. But I should do fairly well at that one. Not putting any expectations on it, but should be good. And that's that. And then November will hit, and boy, I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be busy. All right, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful next couple of days because I'll see you again on Wednesday. See you then. Bye-bye.